I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to get played like a fool, but here I am, sitting in my apartment, feeling like I've been hit by a truck. It all started a few weeks ago when I started noticing things that didn't quite add up. Small stuff at first, her phone buzzing nonstop late at night, hurried texts she'd hide quickly when I walked into the room, her vague explanations that never quite made sense. But the real clue hit me like a punch in the stomach one Tuesday afternoon. I was cleaning up after work, tired as hell when I saw her purse lying on the couch. Something about it caught my eye. A small, crumpled receipt tucked into the fold, a place I didn't recognize. I fished it out, and my stomach twisted when I saw the name of a nearby bar I knew she'd never go to alone. The receipt was for a drink and a quick dinner, on a night she'd told me she was working late at the office. My palms went cold. I felt the familiar sting of suspicion, but I pushed it down, thinking maybe it was just a coincidence. Then I remembered that guy she always brushed off as a friend, the one she said she'd known since college. I'd never liked him, always had a weird feeling about him, but I never had proof until now. I decided to dig. My mind raced, trying to piece it all together. I started paying close attention to her phone, her schedule, even her social media. Nothing concrete at first, just gut feelings gnawing at me. But then I found a message thread on her phone. Not just one, but several. Flirty, suggestive texts with that same guy. What the hell was he doing? How long had this been going on? I could see their words, teasing and pretending they weren't crossing some line. My stomach sank to my shoes. I felt like an idiot for not seeing it sooner. All those little misses, her delaying answering calls, the way she'd avoid my eyes when I asked about her day. Now I knew. It was her. This wasn't a mistake or some fleeting thing. It had been going on right under my nose, and I'd been blind. I confronted her that night. She was in the kitchen when I walked in, her face pale, her hands trembling. She looked guilty more than guilty. It was like she'd been caught, but I already knew the truth. I just wanted to hear her say it. "You've been lying to me," I said, voice cold. "Who is he? How long has this been going on?" Her eyes darted around, then she looked down, voice barely a whisper. "It's not what you think, it's just I don't know, I messed up." "Just messed up," I spat. "You've been with him, haven't you? You've been sneaking around behind my back. How many times?" She hesitated, then finally broke down. "A few times. It's been going on for months. I didn't mean for it to get this far. I was confused, scared. I didn't want to hurt you." That was the moment I saw everything clearly. The lies, the betrayal, the deception. My skin prickled with rage. She lied about everything, about her feelings, her honesty, even about loving me. I felt the weight of it settle deep into my bones. I needed a plan, a good one. I couldn't just walk away without making her see what she'd done. I'd been naive, hoping she'd come clean on her own, but now I knew better. I had to do something that showed her I wasn't the fool she thought I was. I wanted her to understand that this wasn't just about betrayal. It was about respect, something she'd lost completely. So I started laying the groundwork. I knew she'd be at work the next day, so I got into her phone, deleted her messages with him, but I saved screenshots. I still had the receipts, the texts, everything. I needed a way to make her regret every lie, every deception. I had to remind her of what she threw away. I'd come up with something careful. I wasn't the kind of guy to blow up blindly. I wanted her to feel the sting, to see her carefully crafted world unravel. That's when I realized I'd have to hit her where it hurt. Not physically, but emotionally. Something cold, calculated, but precise. And now I'm just waiting for the right moment. Because once I do this, there's no going back. She's going to see that I'm not someone to be played with, especially not by her. And I'll make sure she understands she's lost more than just a husband. She's lost her respect. But I wonder, how many others have she lied to? How deep does this deception run? And what the hell am I going to do when I finally confront her with everything? That's a story for the next part. The morning after I found everything, I woke up with a rush of adrenaline unlike anything I'd ever felt before. My head was pounding, fists clenched, stomach twisted in knots. I knew I couldn't just confront her right away. No, I needed to be strategic. I had all the evidence I needed now. I just had to wait for the perfect moment to drop it on her, to make her see she was caught in a web she spun herself. I spent the day walking around with a clenched jaw, feeling the heat of betrayal simmering just beneath my skin. Every time I caught her sneaking a glance at me, I saw that flicker of guilt, but also something else, fear. Good. That's what I wanted. She needed to feel the storm coming. I didn't want her to see me coming. Instead, I crafted a simple plan. Make her think everything's normal, then introduce her to the evidence one piece at a time, slowly unraveling her carefully constructed lie. I made sure to act normal, but inside my head I was ready for war. That night I asked her to sit with me in the living room. She looked nervous, her fingers twitching in her lap. I kept my voice calm but firm. "Sit down," I said low. "There's something I need to ask you, something serious." She hesitated, then slowly lowered herself onto the sofa. "Okay." I took a deep breath, then reached into my pocket, pulling out the screenshots I'd taken. I let the silence hang for a beat. Her eyes flicked to the phone, then back to me. "Who is this?" I asked, holding the phone out so she could see the message thread. Her face went pale, her hands trembling. She looked away. "It's just some friend I met." "Friend," I repeated, voice sharp. "This isn't just some friendly chat, look at this." I scrolled a few lines on the phone, reading the suggestive messages, the flirting. Her eyes widened as she realized I wasn't going to let this slide. Her voice cracked. "I didn't mean for you to. See this? It's not what you think." "Oh, I think I see enough," I snapped. "You've been lying to me from the start. How long has this been going on?" She opened her mouth, then closed it again. "A few months. I was confused, I guess. I didn't want to hurt you." I shook my head slowly, feeling the weight of it all settle in. "You didn't want to hurt me. You lied, cheated, and kept it a secret. That's not confusion, that's betrayal." She looked down, silent, tears welling in her eyes. I realized she was trying to find a way out, but I wasn't done, not yet. "I've got more," I said, pulling out the receipts and photos I found. "You've been out with him, drinking, fooling around. Do you even realize what this looks like?" Her face crumpled. "Please don't do this." I was weak. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I looked at her with cold, hard eyes. "It's gone too far, and I'm not going to be played for a fool anymore, but I'm not just ending it here. No, I'm going to make sure you understand what you lost." The words left my mouth heavy with intent. Her face went blank, then a flicker of panic crossed her eyes. "What are you talking about?" "You'll see," I said low. "I've got plans that'll make you regret every lie, every betrayal. It's not about revenge for revenge's sake, it's about showing you that no one can treat someone like this and get away clean." She looked at me desperately. "Please don't do anything crazy, I still love you." I scoffed. "Love? You don't love me. You love the idea of me, maybe. But love doesn't cheat, doesn't lie, doesn't betray. That's why I've decided I'm going to make you see what it really means to lose someone." I left her sitting there, trembling. The plan was set. I had her, and I knew exactly what I was going to do. I could see her panic creeping into her eyes, and part of me felt sick, because I loved her once, but now I just felt rage, cold and relentless. The next step was to set everything in motion. I made copies of everything, kept some hidden, and I knew exactly how to make her sweat. I wanted her to feel the weight of her mistakes, to realize that I wouldn't be just another fool she could walk all over. I poured myself a glass of water, feeling the cool liquid slide down my throat, and I thought about how I'd finally get my revenge, not with shouting or violence, but with something calculated, something that would leave her with no excuse, no way out. And as I sat there, I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't going to end quietly. She'd regret the day she ever crossed me. The game was on, and I was ready to make my move. The next day, I woke up feeling a strange mix of calm and anticipation. I knew I had everything I needed now, but I also knew I couldn't just come at her blasting with everything all at once. That would be reckless. I had to be patient, let her sweat, let her wonder what I was up to. I spent the morning setting things up, making sure my evidence was organized and ready to be used at the right moment. I also made sure she wouldn't suspect anything. I didn't want her to bolt or try to hide anything. I kept the atmosphere normal, but my mind was racing with the plan. By late afternoon, she was back from work. She looked tense, avoiding eye contact, her face pale again. I kept my tone even as I called her over. "I need to talk," I said. "Can we sit for a minute?" She hesitated, but she came over and sat next to me on the sofa. Her hands were fidgeting, and I could see her pulse quickening. "You remember those messages I found yesterday?" I asked, voice low and steady. "I didn't show you everything. I've got more, actually. I've been watching, gathering, just in case you tried to deny it." Her eyes widened slightly, but she said nothing. I pulled out my phone and with a click I played a recording I'd made. It was her voice pleading, confessing, making excuses to him during one of their late-night chats. Her words hit like a punch, clear and undeniable. "You recorded this," she whispered, eyes darting around. "Didn't want to forget," I said with a smirk. "You're not as careful as you thought." Her face turned red, then white. "Please don't do this. I was weak. I didn't mean for it to get this far." "Too late for that," I said. "You lied, you betrayed me, and now I want you to see what you've done." She broke into tears. "I love you. I swear it. I didn't want to hurt you like this." I stood up, feeling a rush of anger and disgust. "You want to talk about love? You don't cheat on someone you supposedly love. You don't hide things. You don't lie for months. That's not love. That's just selfishness, and I'm done being the fool." Her voice cracked. "Please don't ruin everything." I looked at her, cold and steady. "Ruin? No, I'm just making sure you understand. You've been caught, and I'm about to make sure you never forget it." I started walking toward the door, then paused. "You should know I've already contacted your boss. Your little secret is just between us anymore. If you think you can lie your way out of this, think again." Her face twisted with panic. "You wouldn't, please. Think of this as a warning," I said. "Next time maybe you'll think twice before lying to someone who trusted you. I'm done. Whatever happens next, it's on you." I didn't give her the chance to respond. I grabbed my coat and keys, walking out like I had everything under control. Inside, I felt a strange sense of relief mixed with disgust. I was finally taking control of the situation, turning the tables on someone who thought she could get away with anything. But I hadn't done the final step yet. I just had to wait a little longer, let her stew in her own doubt and fear. I knew she'd try to spin it, pretend she was innocent. That was part of her nature. But the truth was, she'd been caught red-handed. As I shut the door behind me, I felt the weight lift a little. I knew she'd start to crack soon. The game was just beginning, and I was ready to see it through. Now I had to figure out what to do next, how to make her realize this wasn't just about revenge. It was about her finally facing reality. I'd get there, but not before she felt the full force of her own lies unraveling. I just hoped I was prepared for what came next, because I was about to turn her world upside down. The waiting was the hardest part. I stayed home that evening, feeling the walls close in, wondering how long it would take for her to crack. I knew her. She was stubborn, but she wasn't stupid. And I was counting on her pride crumbling under the weight of what she'd done. I kept my phone closed, checking it every few minutes, waiting for that telltale sign, an unexpected call, a message, anything. Nothing yet, just silence. I poured myself a drink, trying to keep my nerves from taking over. It was strange. I'd always thought I'd feel relief once I confronted her. Instead, I felt anxious, almost sick. Around midnight, the silence broke. My phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. I hesitated, then opened it. It was her. Just 2 words, "Please." That's all it said. No explanation, no apology, just a desperate plea. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Part of me wanted to respond, to see if I could get her to confess more. But I knew better. I knew this was just the beginning. The next morning, I decided to escalate. I wanted her to feel the full weight of her actions. I knew she'd try to spin her way out of this, deny everything, say she was sorry, that it was a mistake. But I wasn't interested in apologies. I wanted her to understand that her lies had consequences. I spent the day preparing what I was going to do. I sent her a message, pretending I was still in the dark, acting like I didn't have all the evidence. I played it cool, but inside I was boiling. I texted her, "Can we talk? I need to understand what's going on. I can't keep pretending everything's okay." She responded quickly, practically begging to meet. I agreed, setting a time for that evening. I wanted her to believe she was still in control, to think she could spin her way out of this one last time. It would make her feel safe, complacent, until she realized she was walking into a trap. That night she arrived at my apartment looking nervous, shivering a little. I greeted her with a calm smile, but inside I was seething. We sat down and I kept my voice steady. "I've been thinking about everything," I started, "and I want to hear it from you. Did you really cheat on me? Be honest." She looked down, tears in her eyes, then nodded slowly. "Yes, I did. I didn't mean for it to go this far, but I was confused, I was scared, and I didn't want to hurt you." I felt that familiar burn in my chest, but I held back. Instead, I reached into my pocket and pulled out the final piece of my plan, a small flash drive. I slid it across the table toward her. "This," I said, "is everything, all the proof, every message, every photo, every recorded moment. It's all there. And I want you to understand you're not going to talk your way out of this. I've already decided what I'm going to do." Her eyes widened as she looked at the drive. What do you mean?" I said, voice cold, "you're going to see what your betrayal has cost you. Because I'm going to post everything, every lie, every flirt, every sneaking around online. If I do, it's going to ruin you. And I won't do it lightly, but I will if I have to." She looked like she was about to cry. "Please don't do that. I'll do anything. Just don't ruin me like that." I shook my head. "It's too late for that. You decided to lie and cheat. Now I'm deciding what to do about it. You've lost my trust and you've lost me. I want you to understand you screwed this up and now I'm taking control." She looked at the drive in her trembling hands and I saw her breaking inside. I knew this was the moment she realized she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from. "Tell me," I said quietly, "do you understand what you've done?" She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, I do." I got up feeling a strange mix of satisfaction and emptiness. "Good, because this isn't just about revenge. It's about making you see what happens when you betray someone who loves you." I handed her the keys to her apartment. "You might want to pack your things. I'm done. I want you out of here by the end of the day." She looked at me, helpless, defeated. Her voice was barely a whisper. "You're really doing this?" "Yeah," I said evenly. "It's over." I turned and walked out, leaving her sitting there, clutching the drive that contained her downfall. I felt a strange calm settle over me, knowing I'd finally taken back my power and set the record straight. Because sometimes the only way to heal is to cut the poison out completely, nothing left but clarity and a new beginning. The next few hours were a blur. I went out, got some fresh air, and did my best to ignore the pounding in my head. But inside, I felt lighter, like I'd finally taken control of something that had been slipping away from me for months. I knew she was probably frantically packing, probably losing her mind trying to figure out what I'd do next. That thought made me smile a little. Good. Let her feel the chaos she brought into my life. By late afternoon, I was back home. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. I could hear her footsteps upstairs as she packed her things. I knew she'd be mad, maybe even furious, but I also knew she realized she'd lost her grip on me. That was enough for me to feel some semblance of victory. I grabbed the folder I'd prepared with all the evidence, screenshots, recordings, the receipts. I put it in a box along with her keys and some clothes. I didn't want to drag this out. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. I'd make it clear I wasn't interested in playing her game anymore. When she finally came downstairs, clutching a bag, her eyes were red and swollen. She looked at me, her face a mix of anger, shame, and a desperate plea for mercy. "You really mean to do this?" she said softly, voice trembling. I looked at her, calm but firm. "It's done. I've decided I won't let you keep lying to me anymore. You betrayed my trust, and I don't want to be with someone who's capable of that." Her lips trembled as she tried to speak. "Please, can we talk just a minute?" "No," I said. "There's nothing to say. You had your chance. You chose to lie, to cheat. Now I'm choosing to walk away for good." I handed her the box. "Take whatever you want. You're out of here by tonight." She stared at me, her chest heaving. "You're really throwing everything away over this?" "Over the truth," I corrected, "and over someone who didn't respect me enough to be honest. This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about cutting out something toxic before it poisons everything." She looked down, tears streaming again, but I didn't care. I'd finally broken through. I'd finally taken back my life. She hesitated, then turned for the door, grabbing her stuff. As she left, I felt the strangest mix of relief and emptiness. I sat down on the couch, the evidence folder closed on my lap. Part of me wanted to call someone, tell them everything, but I knew I'd need some time to process. I looked around the apartment, the place I'd shared with her. It felt hollow now, like the walls knew what had happened. I realized something, though. I'd dodged a bullet. I'd been blind for too long, but I finally saw her for what she was, and now I was free. As I picked up the evidence folder and put it in a drawer, I thought about what I'd learned. Sometimes the biggest act of self-respect is walking away from someone who doesn't deserve you. No matter how hard it feels in the moment, it's better than pretending everything's okay when it's not. The lesson is simple. Trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it's almost impossible to glue back together. But you can always start over. That's what I'm doing now, starting fresh without her lies clouding my world. And honestly, it feels damn good. Days passed, and I tried to settle into a new rhythm. The house felt emptier than I expected, but somehow it was also a relief. No more pretending, no more lies. I kept my distance from social media, blocked her number, and focused on my work. The worst of it was over, but I knew the scars would take time to heal. Still, I felt a strange sense of clarity, like I had finally taken control of my life back. One evening, I sat alone on my balcony, staring at the city lights flickering below. I took a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill my lungs. It was finally quiet. My mind drifted to everything I'd uncovered, and I realized how much I'd learned about myself through this mess. I'd been naive, but I was also stronger than I'd thought. I thought about confronting her, about what I'd say, how I'd tell her she lost the person who truly loved her and that now she had to live with her choices. But I knew I didn't need to say anything anymore. I'd already made my statement. Moving on meant leaving that chapter behind, not reopening it. I remembered how her betrayal made me feel, initially furious, then numb, and now oddly peaceful. I finally saw how badly she distorted the reality we shared, but I also saw the importance of standing up for myself. I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's simply walking away and refusing to be dragged down into the darkness someone else created. I closed my eyes for a moment, feeling the last remnants of anger fade away. I didn't want to carry the weight of her lies anymore. That part of my life was over. I was free to rebuild, to trust again, to love again, on my own terms. The truth is, I don't regret what I did. I don't regret exposing her or walking out on a relationship built on deception. What I do regret is the time I wasted believing in something that wasn't real. But now I understand that honesty and respect are things you can't fake, and if they're gone, it's better to walk away than to stay and drown in lies. So here I am, finally at peace. I handed her the keys, closed that chapter, and moved forward. It's not about revenge anymore. It's about reclaiming my life, my dignity, and my happiness. And that, to me, is the real victory.